So we'll kick off because we've got half an hour, so we're going to keep it really tight today. We know you're really busy. So we're going to be going through marketing assets that win today's couples, and this is all based on data from our UK Wedding Report 2026, which we've launched in the last few weeks. If you haven't got a copy of it, I've got a QR code at the end of the webinar that you can scan and download it. But yeah, basically we've surveyed over 7,000 couples in the UK, which makes it the biggest industry report that we've got in the UK. So yeah, we're proud of this one. We hope it's going to be really, really useful for you guys. And also we're celebrating 10 years of our wedding reports, and I've been around for 5 of them. So that's been really exciting to see how the wedding industry has changed. So it's me, Dorothy, Head of Partner Success at Bridebook. Been here for around 5 years, helping all of you with your comms, with your marketing, just with general industry advice. And I have the lovely Mark with me.
Yes. Hello to all. I'm the Commercial Insight Strategy Manager at Bridebook. Some of you may know me from COVID times, etc., but I was a former owner and used to run Brookfield Barn wedding venue for about 6-7 years.
Just a small stint then in the wedding
Yeah.
industry. Amazing. Thanks, Mark. So we're going to dive straight in, and we're going to start talking about what couples want and what turns them away in your marketing. So essentially, we've pulled out these kind of 4 different aspects of your marketing assets and kind of 4 different areas of the journey that really build trust, connection. And also it is all about emotion with couples as well. They're going on this journey to create their dream wedding day. And whilst we might see our marketing assets as, is that a good picture? Is that a decent brochure? It actually all comes together to really build trust and connection with these couples. And so it's important to look at it as a kind of entire journey. So we've got the first stage, which is all about creating the spark whilst being transparent, and in order to remove concerns or barriers. So I'm sure that, you know, it is quite a nerve-wracking experience for couples. We know that. And so this is what your core marketing assets are really for, the ones that you're sending out really frequently and that they see first. The second stage is building connection. So getting your first communication right with the couple. We've got another webinar on this, like to deep dive into it in a couple of weeks' time. So this is all about communication and shared marketing assets with the couple. The third stage is showcasing your venue and getting couples to book a viewing in person. Obviously, one of the most important steps, and that's encouraging show round bookings. And then the final step is to build connection and trust on delivery and cover off all the details. So these are the logistical aspects, which sometimes are quite difficult to communicate to couples. So this is all about the content of your show rounds, the depth of your marketing assets, and how much information you give them once they've got to that point. And it's appropriate to do so, kind of to, you know, give them all of that. So yeah, that's kind of, we're going to be mainly focusing on step 1 in this particular webinar, but we've also got, I guess, other assets that go down the journey based on the data that we've mined in the report. Mark.
Yes. And I think one of the big changes we saw this year in the report is obviously where couples are going on their digital journey, what they are using the marketing assets they're receiving to what stage they want to get to. And the big jump we've seen this year is now it's over 54% first contact a venue to arrange a viewing. So the challenge for you within your marketing assets, and as you're pulling them together and working out what do we prioritize, what information are we doing, is to get couples to the stage where they want to be. So as much as possible, giving them that information so they don't have to ask for pricing, they don't have to keep requesting extra information, so they are ready to come arrange a viewing with you, and you're jumping them straight away through to that stage. So as we talk through some of the learning from the report, it's very much going to be around how do we get those couples comfortable in the information so they can reach out to you mainly with that intention of arranging a viewing.
Nice.
Do you want to move on?
Have done.
Yeah. And sort of in terms of the sort of barriers that couples have, you know, what do they want before they contact or view a venue? These were sort of questions they very much answered. Look, without this information, we wouldn't contact, we wouldn't view a venue. And these are the 4 top pieces that came out very strongly. Pricing, probably unsurprisingly, that transparency of pricing, especially with the digital native generation, so important. Key images, key information, and then interesting, the fourth one, which we'll go into a bit more, was a downloadable brochure, which is really much coming back into vogue from a couple's perspective of what they want. Now, as we go, sort of what we wanted to do with this is bring out that structure of those stages that your marketing materials need to do that and relate to the different aspects we've got within the wedding report. And very much this is about saying, are you answering those questions in terms of the concerns of the couples at the start of their journey in your core marketing assets? That's front and center, that you've got it out there, which is all about the pricing, showcasing your value for money, being transparent, making sure they can find their concerns about finding their budget matches. And then they want to find those style matches as local options. So making sure you're getting them engaged on those pieces. Then we'll talk, and then we've got the other bits that go further down the journey beyond that. Move on. And then, so what do they expect to find? And again, linking back to their concerns, what should be front and center of your marketing assets? Pricing information, key images, key information, examples of real weddings. Those are the four things that stand out. Over half of couples expecting to find that, only half, and over half couples also finding a downloadable brochure. So as you sort of make sure that you've got that at the front of that, and you look at stuff lower down, wedding awards, contact information, industry association, it's got to be available for couples, but that isn't what's going to get them through to that first stage of getting in touch with you, getting ready to view. Make it available, allow them to do that deep research, but actually prioritize what's really mattering to them.
Yeah. So speaking about types of imagery and videos, obviously we're saying, oh, key images, and it's kind of like, okay, what do you mean by key images? What kinds of things are couples looking at? So in your core marketing assets, you've got to make sure that there are venue images of the spaces, preferably dressed for a wedding. And I know this is so difficult, especially for hotels, pubs, restaurants, venues where you might not be running weddings as your core business. But if you can invest in a photo shoot, for example, to get those key images of venue spaces and include them in all your marketing assets, especially on that first touch, that is going to be one of the most important things to convert couples. And especially on Bridebook, have a quick look at what's your first picture and does it really do you all the justice in the world for those couples that are seeing you in search, for example. Real wedding images are really important. I do think it depends on the type of real wedding image. We're not looking for close-ups of the bride's shoes, and we're not looking for, close-ups of the food and things like that. It's more of the vibe of the wedding. So real weddings that really encompass like the theme, the background, the backdrop, the flowers, if it's cake, anything like that, that really like show off your venue. General venue images of spaces outside. So outside spaces are just as important as inside. If you have an outside space, definitely be showcasing that. And then seasonal real wedding images. So obviously, if I'm having a wedding in December, I want it to maybe feel Christmassy and look Christmassy, and that's going to be very different to a wedding in July at your venue, and kind of the vibe and how that looks. So those are really, really important. There's obviously other elements that are important to encourage your couples to book show rounds, like guided walkthrough videos and 360 tours. But really, I think focusing on those four in pink are the ones that need to be updated as regularly as possible, especially in line with some of the trends we've seen in the report. You can use that to your advantage as well.
And then very much in terms of what we've touched on is obviously downloadable brochures. We mentioned that, and it's something that probably went slightly out of vogue for a while with couples, but now very much it's something that's coming back in. And do you want to...
So we're going to get into brochures 101. It might not be the most exciting topic, but I promise you, it's extremely important at the moment. And here's why. So it's really important to get your brochure right. So these are the reasons why people are downloading brochures. Okay, so they want to be able to share it with their partner. Yes, it's really easy to share a web link, but it often doesn't have all of the information that couples are looking for up front. And a brochure is just a really nice way, an online brochure we're talking about here, of sharing that with your partner. So 76% of couples want to be able to share it with their partner. They also want to help research and compare venues. So this is an area where you're going to be picked against your competitors. So the better your brochure is and the more information you have on that brochure, and obviously on listing sites like Bridebook, the more competitive you're going to seem and the more kind of self-research these couples can do in order to actually make that decision. Because as we've seen, they're trying to decide to book a show round with you. They're not just looking to inquire most of the time. At the moment, we're seeing much more higher intent contacts when people come to speak to you. So we'll dive into how to make your brochures AI ready. But it is really important that you are using this as not just a kind of tick in the box. Yes, we've got our brochure like online. Not that you'd all do that, but I think it's easy to get busy and just think, okay, the brochure's done. Like it's online. That's fine. That's fine. You know, we'll tell them more information in our conversations. They want to be able to share it with family and friends for their opinion. So we've seen that in the report, there's been an increase in couples receiving financial support from their family for their weddings. It's unsurprising in the current economic climate. So 59% of them receive financial support. Obviously, you're going to be almost treating them like stakeholders a little bit. You're going to want to share that information. There's going to need to be pricing on there. You're going to want your, if it's your parents or your guardians buying in, you know, you're going to want to get their buy-in to the venue scene. They're supporting you financially, and 8% wanted to be able to print it, which is niche, but you know, they did. And yeah, 49% of couples expect to find more information in a brochure than is available online. So they are downloading that brochure to get to the crux of what you're offering. And if the brochure doesn't necessarily give that, then we're in a bit of a pickle. Mark.
Yeah, and this is very much, and a lot of what we're talking about today, it's relatively straightforward, but it's taking that critical eye and saying, what do our marketing assets look like? What is front and center? And I think, especially with the brochures, as we're saying, is these are now being taken offline, digested on the train into work, flicking through them. They're sending it on to family and friends, who, as Dorothy mentioned, key stakeholders, and making sure that the brochure, and if you look at your brochure, you'll see a lot of brochures often start with a history of the venue, intro to the team. It's all about, trying to showcase you. That's not what they want to see. That's not their driver for doing that at this point in time. It's great to have it in those extra sections towards the end. But what they really want to do is understand those prices and packaging. And if you've buried that on page 83 of your brochure, they're not going to get there, and they're going to take it from, the ones that seem aligned with them, want to move forward. So it's what's the prices, what's included, really bring to life what the offering is to them, build that trust, build that connection with them, that this is where I'm getting some honest information from them. What are those venue restrictions? Be open, be upfront, don't push them down the line, don't hide them. And then lots of images of the venue. Sell your spaces, make sure they're very aware the spaces, much as though, you're proud of your team and the team's important. They don't see the faces of your team. They want to see up front, these are the key spaces, these are the core spaces, what it will look like. Bring that to life for them, add in that information, and keep it very, very focused. Then, yes, there's extra information you can layer into your brochure, but make sure core, up front, and center are those key things that really matter.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like, as venues, we probably have a habit of thinking, but I need to justify the price. I need to show them everything that they're getting in that price. I need to show them that, maybe the restrictions will turn them off, etc. But actually, you're just making sure that you're getting the right quality couples coming to you for show rounds in this way. A couple's not going to turn up and go, oh, I didn't realize that it wasn't a dog friendly venue. I don't know why I thought of that. There's probably better things, but you know what I mean? Like, they won't show up expecting something. You will have prepped them. It will be the best quality couple. It will not waste your time. It will not waste their time. So yeah, really important points there. Thank you, Mark. It's you again.
Yeah, and look, the other thing is in the report, we won't go into detail with this today. We try to keep these short things. Do go and have a look at the real differentiating factors for why couples chose their venue. This was a question we asked very specifically this year in order to get out to what was a differentiating factor. If you were looking at wedding-led barns or whatever, what was the driver for you? And you'll see it's broken down in the report by the different things. So if you're more of accommodation-led hotel or a food-led pub or restaurant, or wedding-led, which are often your barns, your stately homes, There's some real insight there in terms of what the differentiating factors for couples were for your particular types of venues. And that's the type of thing you've got to make sure is front and center of your brochure as well, and across all your marketing assets. So, it is for, for wedding led, it being about interior style is much more important. For food led, it is unsurprisingly more the food and drink options. So make sure you are aligning. There isn't a one approach catch all, but you're understanding what do I need to put there at the front to make sure that we get that message across.
Yeah, that's really important to note. Like, obviously, when you're looking for, like, if you're looking for a wedding led venue, it might just be the carpet that turns you off. Whereas in a pub or restaurant, or like you might expect there to be like quirks, you're going for a pub or a restaurant. And I'm not saying you haven't got nice carpet, guys, but you never know, do you? So I thought brochures were old fashioned, and it's easy to think that. And I think that they were once, because they weren't necessarily serving the purpose of online, instant book, etc., etc. But now, with the rise of AI, we're seeing that it's actually a great research tool, and AKA AI is picking out those important parts of your brochure and serving them to couples if they choose to kind of, compare different venues. So if they're like uploading 5 brochures from 5 venues, and they're like, okay, these are my criterias, which is the best. Obviously, we've built bride books so they don't have to do stuff like this, but we have to be transparent. There are couples that are using AI, and we're seeing a slow increase of couples using AI to do their planning. So it's really important that we're keeping, I would say, ahead of the curve, but I actually think this isn't even ahead. This is like must do now to keep in line with the curve. So we've got some tips for you on how to make your brochure AI ready. So obviously we've got to think about all of the stuff that Mark's just told us about. What are the key areas? This doesn't affect that. It's just kind of how you present that information. So with file optimization, you want to make sure that the file isn't a massive, massive one, and it can't be uploaded to AI, and it can't be downloaded, and it's just going to break someone's laptop. You want to ensure that the text layer of the PDF is selectable and copyable, which I think with most PDFs it is, but just make sure that it is. Price transparency, as we've said, include all the critical pricing data, and you want to make sure that the sections are really clearly labeled, because that's the kind of thing that AI is going to pick up on in order to regurgitate that information to a couple. So include both base prices and common add-ons, so that like everything is taken into account for when they're actually doing their comparison. Include service charges, taxes, and what is and isn't included. So with the content structure, you want to make sure that you're using clear, standardized, and unambiguous headings. So nothing that can be taken as something else. So yeah, venue capacity, it really is what it says on the tin. Catering, packages, accommodation, etc. And avoid burying key information in long paragraphs. So just as you wouldn't want to, if we had included like a massive paragraph on this webinar, you probably would have been like, I can't read that. That's too much. Couples are going to feel the same on your assets, on your brochure. And then searchability. So ensure full OCR. I'll put my hands up. I'm not actually sure what OCR means, so we'll definitely look. You might know, Mark.
It's optical character recognition.
Recognition. Thank you, Mark, for the technical input there. So if if using a visually heavy design, make sure that the PDF is high quality with a searchable layer text. Test the brochure by attempting to copy and paste a sentence from it. Use standard and non-decorative fonts. This is so classic, isn't it? We all like to use a cursive font, but like try not to for the main pieces. I would say upload your brochure today into ChatGPT and ask it, maybe upload your brochure and a competitor's brochure and see what kind of information it would serve back to you and whether or not it could read it, etc. So yes, treat your digital brochure not just as a marketing piece, but as a structured data source, which I know sounds a little boring, and we'd never want it to be a structured data source for couples. We do want it to be informational and inspiring, but it is going to have like these different pieces in order to make it readable. If you have any questions, by the way, please do pop them in the Q&A, and we'll either find time to answer them today, or we'll take them away and come back to you. Mark, what should we be avoiding?
Yeah, and it's similar to, it's a little bit of a reverse of that, but making sure that these brochures, couples are going to download the brochure from Bride Book, from different sources, and they're going to put it through AI. So you want this to work. If yours doesn't work and the three others venues that they're comparing you do work, you're going to be out of the equation. File size, we've talked about, most what we call AIs run off large language models, which is all the processing, how they process the document, etc. If it gets too large, they kind of truncate. They decide. This is again why the important information needs to be up front, because they will process it different ways. We love our brochures to look brilliant, but try and keep down the design noise. Make it easy for the key information to be read. So really avoid, blocks of design colors over tables and things like that. When it gets flattened into a PDF, it can totally impact how that's read, how that's things. So keeping things, avoid information embedded in images. As much as we'd love to take it into Canva and make it look beautiful and then put an image in, it's then not readable by AI. So very careful around that. Price and transparency, it's really clear. Make it really clearly broken down. What is it? If I can read that simply and understand it yourself, then AI is going to pick it up. As Dorothy said, put your brochure into a AI tool and ask it, what's the price for 60 people on a Saturday? If it can't answer it, actually, couples are struggling to answer it as well.
Yeah, it's a really good idea to pressure test actually and just ask it some really simple questions that you would expect it. I do that with our content sometimes. So it's really useful.
Yeah, tables, list things out, slightly longer way of listing it out can actually work better when it goes through AI, per day, per week, per month, etc. And much as though we like to try and make our venues over personal, don't try and get too much into sort of unique terminology that's, the grand gala space is an example here, for your venue, because that's what you call it. It's the main room, it's the main ballroom. Put it in a way that this isn't going to cause confusion for AI. It goes a bit away. Maybe you've gone with some of your wordage, but look at this as, it was covered on the last thing. It's not just a marketing act. It's now a data source that's going to get used in different ways. So really take a step back and look at your brochure.
For sure. And recently I was having a little look through some brochures, and this is not necessarily to do with AI, but just the imagery. I just saw some close-ups of couples, and I just thought it was such wasted space where it could have been showcasing a beautiful room. It should have been showcasing some outdoor space, and it was a couple that just a black and white image of a close-up couple, and I was like, oh, this tells me nothing about the venue. So yeah, just it's really hard to be critical of our assets that we've put loads of work into, but like just get some of your family and friends to have a look at it and be like, as a couple, or even some previously married couples, if you were searching for a venue, what do you think of this? And it's just really useful. So BrightBook's pricing tool, Mark, do you want to give us a little rundown of like what this is?
Yes, I'll touch on it sort of briefly. It's we've been doing a lot of work on brochures and understanding how we can help build pricing estimates, and this is ballpark estimates to give an idea for couples and to inform couples of what typical prices might be based on what's in brochures, etc. So we've been training up a language model, which is then looking through brochures, understanding how pricing is presented, teaching it so that it can then take the information you got in the brochure and then turn that based on couples then into an estimate. And I've stressed the estimate, and it's stressed it's an estimate of what the sort of ballpark pricing is, so they can come together. And example here actually has got very similar on different days and things, but you'll get variation based on days in the week, months of the year, confirmed number of guests. It will pull out different packages. So this is a tool that we're continuing to train and learn, and it's now available on the app for couples to do. And you'll see it on some of your in the couples targeting area as well. It will show them where they've actually done a price estimate. Our goal with this is very much to inform couples so that when they're reaching out to you, we're getting to the stage where they're comfortable to come for a viewing because they've got a good idea of the ballpark of the price, and that they are not going to be a couple with a £5,000 budget who have an expectation that your venue is going to cost at least £20,000 is going to be in their ballpark. It's not saying this is the exact price you're going to get. Nothing like that. It's a ballpark estimate. So very much this is available now. So if you start updating your brochures, putting your pricing in those brochures, it will then drive this, which will increase the quality of inquiries. And we know that it's actually increasing the volume of inquiries as well.
Mm. It's a test number of venues at the moment, right, Mark, that are involved in this.
It's those that have had, so one of the tests we run through is we put the pricing brochure through the tools in order to learn whether there's sufficient information in there to actually provide proper estimates or not.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of learning around what works, what doesn't work, and things like that. So
Nice.
it's making sure. So we will run through, we'll always make sure it's valid. And there are a number of steps coming in the future as we develop this further.
Great. I think this is so useful for both parties. So that's great news.
Yeah.
If you're interested on how to re-upload your brochure to Brightbook, so if you get the time this week to go through your brochure, your marketing assets with regards to like the really important core pieces of information that we've mentioned earlier in the webinar and in the wedding report, and you do get to the stage where you want to re-upload your brochure, if you go to the Your Profile area on your Brightbook business and then you click along the kind of top navigation, click on pricing, scroll down, and then you'll see your wedding brochure and price lists. You just need to click on that, and it will take you to this area where you can literally drag and drop your brochure. And it's literally takes 30 seconds to upload it all in all. So yeah, it's definitely worth doing. Go on, Mark.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I saw the question came in about how can we check once it's available for all venues, once you've uploaded it. We are working on an interface where we would allow you to sort of look back at how it's been interpreted and what the prices mean. Obviously, as there's more and more packages, it will sort of be breaking down. If you've got a number of different packages that you offer, etc., it will break those down into areas for you to look at. So we are working on an interface where you can look at that and test that as well yourselves, and maybe in time as well edit that if you go, well, actually, it hasn't quite read that right. We have manually checked through this whole process of learning. We go through, we throw a brochure at it, and then we go and do a visual check, and we go, does this make sense? Is this right? Or has it interpreted right? So that's all part of the process we're going through. It's taken a lot of time to get to where we are, and we continue to build on that now as well.
Definitely. Great question, Lauren. Thank you. So the next steps for you, I hate giving you homework, but no, it's really important off the kind of back of the wedding report to, move with the times and update things that the data's showing us. So do a review of your marketing assets. And by this, it's your listings, it's your social media, it's your website, but really prioritizing that brochure. So making sure that you're prioritizing the right content in those initial touch points with couples that we spoke about, all the stuff in pink in those graphs, aligned to the right stage in the couple's journey. So making sure that you're not, sending them all your rewards at the first time that they ever speak to you. I know no one would do that, but it's just the most extreme example I can give. So sending them the stuff that's really relevant for them at the beginning of their journey. Renew your brochure, so mirror the information that couples want. We've gone through that in some detail, and get it AI ready. Like, we've got to get on that. And upload your brochure to Brightbook if you can. So make the most of this kind of pricing tool. Obviously, like we said, it is in test, so fear not, don't panic. We're testing it to teach it more and more and more, but it is really, really going to help couples and venues alike in the future, and give you a better chance of converting couples as well. So we've got a quick couple of questions that we've had come in. So what do we need on our Brightbook profile to stop couples dropping off before inquiring? I think we've actually probably already answered this one, Mark, with the content of the webinar, but it is all of the stuff in pink. It is the photos of the spaces, it is the pricing, it is anything else you can think of, Mark?
No, it's the key information. It's the test is, if I read this, would I have a question before I came for a viewing?
Yeah.
And if the answer is, well, yeah, I'd probably want to know the capacity or but this type of information is, you've got an FAQ section, build that information out so that they go, you know what, I'm ready to view.
Yeah.
And
I know
often if they're then ready to view, they're ready to book.
Yeah, definitely. what kind of photos or content matter most? What should we prioritize in uploading? I think we've also been through this as well in quite a lot of detail of the types of photos. So do look back at that graph and prioritize that kind of for. Interesting question here from an anonymous attendee. Do you have data on prompts couples are typically using? That's a really interesting question. We don't from the report. I don't know, Mark, if there's any kind of data magique you can do.
No, but it's interesting because we have done a lot of interviews with couples. So that's one of the things we're constantly doing anyway, but on pricing and what they ask. But I can try and dig some out of what they ask, but it'd probably be most of what you expect. You know, what would be the price of a wedding for 80 guests on a Saturday at this venue? It is as simple as that, are those questions they're using. If they have, you will get some more in-depth. We'll say, here are 4 brochures. This is what we're looking at for your wedding. Summarize which venues will work for us or not. It's those type of prompts that people are going for, either very specific questions around the pricing or particular information, or give me a comparison of these 4 or 5 brochures.
Yeah. And one of the webinars in this series, my anonymous attendee, will be one focused on AI. So that will be one that we run in 2 or 3 weeks' time. And as a result of you signing up for this webinar, most of you, if you're Venue Pros, will have access to those webinars as they come up. So you'll be getting reminders. Here is the QR code to download the full report if you haven't already. I'm sure most of you have, but yeah, do download it and use it. You know, we've made this report free for a reason. We really want to make sure that you all have the insights from over 7,000 couples, which is not really data that all of us can get to quite easily. So yeah, I'll just leave that up there for a couple of seconds. If you want to tag us on Instagram or LinkedIn that you've been on the webinar, we'd be more than happy to repost and like and share. And then just a shameless little plug from me on the next webinar that's coming up. So Zoe, who is head of brand content and social, she was formerly the head editor at Hitched, and she's now joined Bridebooks. That's really exciting. And myself, we're going to be doing a deep dive into communicating with couples to kind of ensure less friction and more viewing. So that will be on Tuesday, the 3rd of March. And this one is exclusively for Venue Pros. So if you are a novice venue and you want to get access, do contact our customer service team and we'll put you in touch with the right person to share that with you. But yeah, we're really excited to host this. There's a whole kind of range of webinars coming in the future on different aspects of the wedding report, like AI, for example, like ceremonies, and some of the changes that have come in. So yeah, there's going to be some really kind of hot topics that we cover, and because you've signed up for this one, you get access to all of those if you're Venue Pro, so that's great. So that is pretty much it from us, and it's really lovely to have you all on board today. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll be sharing the recording of this webinar around so that you can share it with your team or look back at it if needs be, and get those brochures going and looking beautiful and being read by AI. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you.